Welcome to International Financial Reporting Standards course, a complete course for students, for professionals who are already working in their fields of finance and accounting background. And this course is for those who are who are engaged in investing and they want to understand the financial reports through standards so that they could easily understand the standard. This first tutorial will be just a background, since there's a confusion between the students and professionals even, and sometimes the investors. Sometimes reports are being asked in general accounting accepted principles in some countries, and sometimes it has been asked to prepare according to the international financial reporting standards. uh, General accepted accounting principles were developed um, with their specific needs in in few countries, yeah, or in the USA. Comparison of these three standards are basically gap is significant for the countries, varying their principles and practices, rules and regulations. International financial reporting standards are basically global standards. They have international accounting standards, and on top of international accounting standards, they have international financial reporting standards. And international accounting standard is now subset of IFRS. So mainly you can say now these are the old standards. All right, next slide. Number of standards, now international accounting standards are fewer as compared to IFRS. And international financial reporting standard includes all international accounting standard plus additional standards developed by the international financial reporting standard. General accepted accounting principle varies, since a few countries have their own standards. Adoption: some countries may still use IAS, but most has adopted IFRS, and IFRS adopted by 160 countries, more than 160 countries. GAP is like applied by individual countries and within their respective jurisdiction. Yeah. What is scope of international accounting standards? Scope is basically depends on uh, transitional markets, economies, but international accounting financial reporting standard is applicable in all developing countries or developed countries or economies. Yeah. Uh, GAP is usually used mainly in the country that has established their specific general accepted accounting principles. Okay, now we talk about principles and concepts. International accounting standard has its own framework, which is now adopted and built by International Accounting Standard Board and under the IFRS framework, International Financial Reporting Standard framework. A GAP is still derived from the country's legal and economic environment, depends on country to country. As I said, GAP is not international standard. That's the basic difference. Yeah. International accounting standard is now older version, mainly used in the countries of origin. Depends who has not adopted the international financial reporting standard. And few countries has adopted international accounting standard as their own standards. Yeah, they adopt it fully. So they are still they haven't developed their new standards yet. So they are used. um, Convergence efforts are like, since international accounting standard is now older version or like obsolete, which has been adopted by international financial reporting standard, so it's not applicable about convergence. But international accounting standard board is working effectively, actively to for the convergence of national accounting standards. As I said earlier, GAP is still doing convergence, but there is still confusion and differences. Uh, Influence, since international accounting standard is older now and not applicable on international financial reporting standard. No, there is no influence of anyone, since it is a global standard. and accepted accounting principle has some influence since there is a convergence between international financial reporting standards with other standards. So it has some influence of the other standards. Well, okay, now we are closing our session. We have just started just a background, just general background to understand international accounting standard IFRS and GAAP. Next slides we will go step by step to understand international financial reporting standard. Thank you very much.